Listen, people, Shema Yasrahal. I am calling you to honor me with a large dose of humility. What if you had no other books in the new covenant when you look? What if there were only 4 gospel books? Would you pick yourself up from that floor? Then would you still say the Son of Man would return someday? Would you still teach his long delay? Would you see it yet in different ways? What if you went only by the words in red? What if that's where you made your end time bed? What if you went only by the 4 gospel books? Would you still delay wedding bells? Would you, could you? Or would you conclude from the blessed Jew that he returned in 70, 80 for me and for you? The answer is plain to see. Then you finally shout and celebrate just like me. Baruch Hashem, Yahweh, Baruch Hashem, Yahweh. Blessed is the Holy One that has already returned. What if you What if you went only by the 4 gospel books? Deceive you would be no more. You'd see him at the first century door. Way back in 70, 80 in that first century, coming back on the clouds to look, to oversee the destruction of the holy space, sparing his very elect new covenant race. And what if you went only by the 4 gospel books? Well, what if you went only by the 4 gospel books? The answer is plain to see. Then you finally shout and celebrate just like me. Baruch Hashem, Yahweh, Baruch Hashem, Yahweh. Blessed is the Holy One that has already returned. Listen, people, Shema Yasrahal. I am calling you to honor me with a large dose of humility. What if you had no other books in the new covenant when you look? What if there were only 4 gospel books? Would you pick yourself up from that floor? Then would you still say the Son of Man
Shalom out there.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, everybody. Everybody. Shalom,
Amen.
shalom.
Hey, I wanted to tell everybody that was here for Sukkot that my glasses did come back to my hand. Just so you guys know, when we were here, when they were here, I couldn't find these, and these are my, look close glasses, and I have distance one and regular ones. Couldn't find them, and I have a thing where I say, I call things to my hand, and it usually shows up pretty quick, and it did not show up very quickly, and we were just wondering what in the world's going on. And I remember praying, I'm like, Father, what happened to my glasses? And that day Mindy moved something and said, oh, here they are. And so I got my glasses back.
That's good to know.
Baruch Hashem Yada Yahuwah.
That's good to know. Well, forget about the glasses. I was worried about finding you.
Yeah, I know, right? No, we had small technical difficulties.
Because you come with the glasses. I'm like, for Kifa, where is Peter? So I'm glad you got your glasses, but I was focused, every pun intended, on finding.
Where's my keyboard? Yeah, where's everything?
I'm finding you. I was glad we found you in time for the broadcast.
Amen and amen. So glad we found our brethren. And thank you for joining us, all of you who are sitting in with us. We always love it when you come and join us. And do prepare questions, because we like to open up for questions at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Have them set aside, or what, something that's provoked. So as usual, we are fully prepared with a million topics. We just don't know which one to choose.
We come rolling in the studio like, well, Father, what do you want us to talk about? And I do have one thing that I want.
Honey, where's the coffee?
Where's the tea bags? Good morning, everybody. Let's kick it off here.
Well, pick a topic. I mean, let's play Bible roulette. I got some ideas, but
one thing that I think everybody is waking up to. We keep pointing at this, and I want to do it gently, and but I also want to encourage all of you to keep doing it. Is the value of your house, the value of your assembly, your friends, your fellowship. Boy, are you really seeing the value of having like-minded, like-hearted people on the same mission, whether it's with Yati and on their mission and the things that they're doing, which are tremendously important. So for everybody that's on that mission, good for you. Stay on that mission. And for those of you that are on different missions, whatever it is, when you're connected like that and you're on point, when you're on a mission that's greater than any one of you, there's a unity that comes in that is so edifying. Yep. And it is the missing piece that many people say, this is what I was missing. This is what I needed. I needed to feel part of something bigger than me, and something that was more than just my life. And so, Sholiak, what I wanted to talk about today is that hole that a lot of people, I think, feel when they tune in, they listen to broadcasts, they get that. They get a lot of good teaching. They love your teaching. And I think a lot more people are coming to love you and your style and the way that you are designed. And I personally have said, see, you got to appreciate these various personalities. You can't put everybody in a box. And as a result, look, now we're being Baruch by the wonderful things Yahuwah is putting through you. And so my point is that without having that slowdown to say, hey, let's get together for a bit and let's talk about not only these doctrinal issues, but how this impacts our going together. Because when you put things in the proper paradigm, and we now are no longer waiting for something that we thought we were waiting for, and we can now get the right paradigm. So we go, oh, well, we're here for a minute. We better you unpack different. And your brain functions differently when you have the right mindset and you're on a mission together. Oh, well, we're building. The guys went and picked up a children's set thing. Somebody donated a swing set and a slide and all that. So for next Passover, there'll be more slides and swing sets for the children. Wonderful. But how many know that if they didn't have the vision of what this place has to be and how important that is for children, they wouldn't be very motivated to go get it, even if somebody's giving it to you. But as soon as they saw it and said, "Hey, that would work with the vision that we have. That works with what we're doing."
Right.
We're on board. I didn't have to motivate them. I didn't have to say much. I didn't have to do much because they caught it right away and went, "We got to go get that." That was
Right. Well, I guess it's going to be a whole bunch of people doing some swinging.
yeah, swing. Oh, we got swings, but we needed. They got the big
This-
slide now. You know, the
Yeah,
whole
this is kosher swinging, not the kind of the
kosher
world,
swinging.
not the world's kind of swinging. But that's so important because, like the word says, write the vision,
Right.
write it down, make it plain, so that those who read it can run with it and not grow weary. So it's very important to have a vision because even people within the kingdom will perish. So once you have that vision, they'll perish in their own lethargy, right? For lack of
Correct.
a better term. So it's very important that everybody has the vision, and within a community or a house, that we don't take it for granted, that everybody knows the vision. We write it, we put it in the dining room or whatever, we make it plain. And when you grow weary or you get sidetracked, you say, "Sorry, Yahuwah, I got sidetracked. I'm going to come back to the vision that the house has established."
There's sub missions too, right? That's what sub mission is. There's this house with a grand mission, an apostolic call, whatever it is. It's Yati. You're doing all these different things, but inside of that are all these different little sub missions, and they're all important to the grander, bigger mission that has to happen. And it's when we start to realize, whoa, wait a minute, this is what he meant by a tree that lodges many birds. This is what he meant when he said that you will become strong and be safety or shelter for many. Because then they come in and they're able to be under the authority of the elders and not have, if there's a conflict, right, which a lot of times there's conflicts, you now have arbiters that can arbitration there that can help resolve those things by the Torah. You've got submission, you've got humility, you've got unity, you got a lot of positive things that the Ruach now has to work with. When you remove all these things and still expect the same levels of success, community growth, value in camaraderie, covenant building, all of the things that were beneficial to the first century church, if you want to look at that as an example, you can't possibly get the same results when you remove these ingredients from the recipe. That's all I wanted to say.
That's right. And that's why we need to write it, make it plain. I was just meditating this morning out in the back. I was talking to a brother about his family working for the ministry versus looking for secular work. And, a lot of times we think of the fivefold as the paid professionals, and everybody else has to go to work 40 hours, 60 hours, and they leave the ministry to the fivefold. But I was thinking, every believer is a minister. Every believer is called. So for those who have to work 50, 60 hours a week secular, and they're in a house, right? Every believer has the ability to adjust their schedule and shave their schedule and cut corners, a little less time to the boss man, and then you shift half an hour a week to Yahuwah. Then the next year, you shift an hour a week. And then pretty soon, you're working 4 days, and 1 day or 1 or 2 days is fully dedicated to evangelism, prayer, study, So every believer has a calling on their life, and despite the burden of secular work and supporting a family, I believe that they can shift little by little to where Yahuwah is using them more and more. In other words, they're not stuck. They're not stuck at a secular job. See, let's take Paul for an example. He made talits. Okay.
Yes.
They call it tents, but it's really talits. So when the word of Yahuwah came to him from Macedonia in Acts 16, come over here, help us.
Right.
He did not say what the Western mindset says, which is, listen, I got to go to work. I have a job.
Right.
I have a family to feed.
Exactly.
In other words, first, Yahuwah, you tell me what to do and who to do it for. Once I finish that task and there are no more assignments,
Exactly.
I will go back to work and go to the flea market, because basically he ran flea markets wherever he went.
Sure.
Okay. See, that's the attitude we are to have. I'm speaking to everybody who's burdened by secular work.
Right.
That's the attitude to have. It's like, Yahuwah, your appointments, your divine appointments come first. And then I will work my work schedule when you don't have an assignment for me to do. Now, that may seem like financial suicide, but actually, that's the road to blessing. Does that make any sense?
I agree. I think that we have, you know how you said on the there's 2 chapters that I just got to talk to Peter about. That's it. The rest he's with me on. Well, actually, you don't, because I'm already with you on the other 2 chapters. But but it's still going to be a great talk. So still come talk to me about it, because it'll be fun to talk, right? But just like that feeling, I get that same feeling when it comes to this topic of working secular. When you say the word secular, what it says to me is building somebody's pyramid. Okay, that's what it says to me. I'm sorry, but I can't.
You're right. You're right.
I
Yeah.
can't take that out of there. And that's not what I see in the first century. I'm sorry. It's just not. If you want to really get honest about the picture does not indicate that they were working secular jobs and then showing up at community. No, they disconnected. And they did really well. Okay.
100%. 100% correct.
Really financially really well.
That was the heart of what I said. That was the heart of what I.
Yeah, they weren't. And I wanted to just clarify, because I thought that's what you meant. But they were wildly successful because the Berakav Yahuwah was upon them, and this is one of the reasons why they were hated by those who weren't successful, and it always will be the reason why the Berakav will always generate envy. Okay, it always generates that among those who will not do the right thing. So they won't do what Cain, he was told, if you do right, you'll be accepted. They refuse. They'll still be upset about not getting a benefit, but not doing the right thing. It's the craziest psychosis
You're
you've
right.
ever seen.
No, you're right. Yeah.
There's nothing new about it, and you got to walk through the dogs, all right? That's the way it is in the kingdom. You got to learn to walk through the dogs. Now, if you don't, if you're expecting perfect, then, oh my gosh, the smallest little thing goes wrong and the whole thing falls apart. No, you got to toughen up. We all had to toughen up. When Lucifer fell, when the whole fall happened, everybody, you got to toughen up. This isn't the new deal. This is the way it happens. You got people that get full of themselves. They get a little dressed up. Next thing you know, they look so great. They're looking at themselves. Oh, look at me. And next thing you know, they forgot their post, their position, their anointing, their calling, right? They're full of themselves. They start looking at themselves. It's a very dangerous thing. Prosperity, by the way, one of the most dangerous places for us, is why we need each other. Keeps us humble. So when I see this issue, I say, no secular work. Cut all of them off. Instead, find other solutions. It puts pressure over here. It says, man, because as long as you go over into the secular world to get your money, but then come over here, you're not really over here. Okay, you're not really over here. You're really over here. You're just playing over here. When you disconnect from these guys and you got to make your money over here, guess where you are? You're over here now. Because you got to make your money over here.
That's a very, not only is it interesting approach, it's very biblical. Like to do what you're suggesting is to get very biblical. Or like I used to hear a brother say, let's get Levitical in here, Let's get Levitical. So what you're saying is actually 100% from Scripture. The issue is the how-tos, and I think
you got a lot of people that'll be happy to stand there.
You're more well-versed in that than I am, because the how-tos, that's the ideal, obviously, but to get the average single mom to abandon her job and fall at the feet of the community,
that's not her job. Listen, you're asking the wrong strata. So the right strata is, let's begin phase one. Strata would be elders, leaders, people who have courage and temerity, people that have means. They're the ones that are supposed to establish a structure. Like you said,
Right.
when you're
right.
first beginning, what do you do? And you have no people, what do you establish? You said it during the
Arm
meeting.
meeting.
You establish structures, what you establish.
Right.
Okay, because the structure is what draws the people. The widow's not expected to make the structure, neither is the single mother. Okay, they're the recipients of structure. They're not creators of it. We're supposed to create the structure.
But they're still supposed to separate. You're saying,
yeah, eventually, yes. When you have it ready for them, like when the apostles got out there and got things set up, and they were like, all right, now we've got housing. Okay, we're getting more housing. All right, you guys are building more stuff. Great. What are you guys doing? Oh, you guys are bringing in the lumber. All right. What are you guys doing? And they got people going. They got it organized. At a certain point, then it was, hey, you guys can come on now. We're ready for you. So we've built enough out.
So we're not asking widows and single moms and single dads to take a boat and go over Niagara Falls. In other words, when the fivefold is ready, and they say, we believe that Yahuwah's Ruach is moving to bring you here and to disconnect. Fear not, Yahuwah is with you. Greater is he that is in us, 1 John 4:4, than he that is in the world. So in other words, you're saying that the shlichim will inform such folks that we believe that now is the time.
Yes.
Gotcha. That makes more sense than somebody just quitting.
Another concept that gets a little overblown and sort of manipulated is they laid everything at the apostles' feet. You have to understand that this was a singular event. This was not a lifestyle of constantly laying everything at the apostles' feet. That was not normal. This was an event because they had to leave Jerusalem. Jerusalem was going to be sacked.
You got it right there. You got it right there.
They were commanded that they had to get out of Dodge, okay? Yep. Because there were words coming of destruction for Jerusalem.
Yep.
So the apostles, being responsible parents, being intelligent and being wise, as led by the Ruach, said, all right, everybody, what we're going to do is we're going to pool our resources. We're going to go out into a different area. Ended up being Qumran area and what have you. And then, you know, they've built out a brand new community for people to live in. That's why it was such an egregious sin for Ananias and Sapphira to be playing it fast and loose when they're trying to take advantage of a big effort that's going on to secure people's lives.
Right.
They're saving lives, and they're playing games.
And those funds would be used to protect the infant community from the Great Tribulation, the Roman Jewish War. Now, but also there was a Torah principle that Yahusha must have reinforced, which is the land is mine. Do not sell my land. The land is mine. So they knew ultimately the land was Yahuwah's. So between the 70 AD mentality and knowing the Torah, they say, listen, let's just, the land is not ours, it's Yahuwah. So that also was reinforced.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way you and I treat our respective stewardships. That's exactly how you and I treat our land, and I say our in parentheses. Yahuwah told you more or less the same thing that he told me. We've been thinking about being our family structure. We were thinking about selling our land and getting a duplex, right? You understand what I'm saying? Twin site because of my family structure. And Yahuwah said, he was very firm with me. I mean, he was very firm. Yahuwah doesn't usually have to be that firm with me.
Mm-hmm.
No, sir, don't you dare. That's for my people. And the way you set it up and the way I set it up is that structure is for Yahuwah's purpose. I could own this house. I could quit claim a title. I could do a quit claim deed this morning when I get finished with you. I can go down to the courthouse and quit claim it, put it in my name. But that's not what Yahuwah told me. It belongs to him and it belongs to his people. And it does not belong to my physical heirs because they are pagans. There's no nepotism. There's no nepotism. None of my grandchildren, let me make this very clear. None of my children and none of my grandchildren will get 1 penny of Yahuwah's money and Yahuwah's property because it is kadosh. Sorry. If y'all want to give your stuff to people who hate Yahuwah, and will not hear his voice and hate you for loving Yahuwah, you do what you want to do. As for me and my house, Joshua 24:14, we're not doing that. You know who's going to inherit this land? The people. They're going to have a key, and the people are going to inherit this land.
And it will be put in stone, not paper, where it could be burned, or digital that could be erased, but stone that will require you to get a major piece of equipment to move it. And it will be written on that stone that you're not supposed to move it, because we ain't playing. You guys, I'm telling you right now, this is legacy time. This is multi-generational legacy time. And I feel it so strongly that, the things that we've recovered, the things that we fought to recover in this generation, this battle that we have all been through. And if you have not realized that you went through a war just to get the Ristine, just to get the basic things that we have, that we now can celebrate, and to the notion that we would go back into more deception, the notion that they would pull a grand, fool on our children and grandchildren because they're lazy, straight up. Okay. And the work that it would take to do what we did, to replicate what we've done, would be hard. So we have to preserve it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the kind of thinking that has to come now. This is when I talk about the Grandpa Brigade, and I talk about, the grandfathers and the elders. This is what it's about. This is why we have the scriptures, guys. We have the scriptures because people, as they got older in their lifetime, said, oh boy, they saw their children and grandchildren, the ones that were preserving the scriptures, the ones that you love, the ones that you see the scriptures and you're loving those scriptures, right? That generation who preserved them were looking at their children and grandchildren like this. Oh, I see. Mira tú. Okay. We better put these in a jar. We better put these somewhere where they're going to stay.
Protect them from the...
knuckleheads are not going to take care of it.
That's right. Protect them from the thieves. And the land, like you were saying, the fact that the folks, the early Nazarene community, sold the land shows us that they understood that the destruction was in that generation, very near, and they were not allowed to hold on to anything. They had all things in common. That doesn't mean they became communists. It means that they took the Olivet Discourse to heart. They really took it to heart.
That's my point, is that they did not become communists, and it's been used to sort of support a socialist agenda or socialist thinking, and nothing could be further from the truth. If you didn't work, you didn't eat. Socialism lets you eat regardless. That's not the plan.
Correct.
And so Yahuwah does not endorse that. He endorses hard work. He endorses industry. He endorses a covenant making and truces and unity. He endorses when people work together. So this is what we want to endorse and encourage, because we're doing what our Father does. So we, as Mashiach said, I do as I see my Father doing. We are to be the same way. What is he saying? Come together, unite, and bring together your resources, bring together your forces. If I build a resource, I was just talking just yesterday with one of the resources that we were building, and I asked certain questions about its real capability. And it told me what its real capability was. It's like, governors all off, no restrictions. This is what I could do. And I'm like, gee whiz. And I'm like, could we keep this to ourselves? Sure. If that were our heart. But what's reflected is, oh no, we've got to get this to the saints. Oh no, we've got to figure out how to help our brethren. Oh no, we got to figure out how to help these single mothers. And why is that in our heart? Why is that our priority?
So that's what all the...
We're already disconnected from all this stuff.
So that's what all the digital currency and things that you have done is to build a structure.
Yes.
So that people can disconnect from the world and serve Yahuwah with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength. Because people, they're so mammon oriented and they're so Greco-Roman oriented, that even if I did it, it's not just you. Anybody
And this
that
is only
anybody that delves into currency, okay. So now ministry is turned into a sales pitch. But what Peter's telling you is, and I'm telling you, because when you, even I misunderstood you in the beginning, because when you were talking about the shekel and the kingdom shekel, I'm like, okay, we have enough shekels, we have enough bit. What's the, even I, who I believe have the ruach, was saying, why are we delving into this? But as I got to know you, you're not into the shekel thing to fleece anybody's flock, because you can, like you've told me many times, you can go to work and pull in six figures. Okay, work, what the world calls work, but you're setting up a structure. This is not this is not a self enrichment program, and
correct.
the people that see that disconnecting from the world as our source to the kingdom as our source will not hold that against you. See, but I'm telling you, it takes a high level of maturity.
Yes, it does.
To
'Cause it's something
understand what you're doing, because even the most mature have a pull, a magnet of the world that says, You
we
see?
have a whole heck of a lot of too good to be true smothered all over us at birth.
Yeah.
All apostles get a whole lot of too good to be true smothered all over. It's too good to be true. This man spent this time doing what he did with the Restine. It's too good to be true, but he did it. I mean, I can't wait to get my new one. I just ordered it. Mindy's ordering a new one for me because I gave away the other one. Right. And I got to order the book that I want. I keep telling everybody to read it. I got to read it. So, but the bottom line is that he gives us abilities, right? And he gives us these abilities for a reason. It's not for my benefit. If the anointing were only for you, I'd stay home and just do this all day. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, thank you, Father. I would just bless myself all day. Okay. It doesn't work that way. We're here for one another. And so my gifts are meant for that. Now, yes, I have designed things that, as a matter of fact, that conversation comes up all the time. You don't have to share this. I know I don't have to share it, but that's why I built it. I didn't build it to keep it to myself. Okay. I didn't build it so I can make millions of dollars and sit on like a fat cat in some hidden place, in some place that none of you could find me. And every once in a while I say a meme and write a book or some nonsense. No, I'm in the trenches with you. Okay. We're going to swing this out together. We're going to battle this out together. And I'm going to get down here right where everybody else lives, because that's how I grew up, in the Bronx, in the street. All right. Down where people live. You don't preach the gospel from an ivory tower. You preach the gospel from right where they live. And that's how you and I came up. Okay. So this makes sense to us. And I just happen to have skill sets that I'm like, okay, I'm going to build structures so that when you show up, it takes care of the things it needs to take care of, so that you don't have to do things that you don't know how to do.
But you have a lot of answers in terms of things that you're working on that you've explained to me, right?
Right.
But it needs to be, I don't know if it's you or a spokesperson or a third party, but it needs to be explained to the people. This is not about money. This is about Acts chapter 2.
Right.
Where we provide for each other without having to go to the breasts.
If it was just for making
of
money,
Mama Beastie,
you would never hear me say a word.
The problem with the money aspect, okay, you're thinking widow, you're thinking orphan. That's not what people hear. What people hear is preacher and money. So, and we can have this conversation privately, but a little bit publicly is okay.
No, it's fine.
If that was me, and I had this vision from Yahuwah, which you have, which is tremendous, to build up the kingdom, so they don't have to work for $3 an hour at a gas station or in Walmart, whatever they're paying, is that to find a spokesperson. I think you were onto this, that will represent you in honesty and accuracy. Because as soon as we do our own,
we had that, and then we found out we didn't. So we're
still right. But you were onto it. You were. But as soon as we do our own promoting, people think money, and no, I know this man, and it's nothing could be further from the truth. But getting back to the work thing, so somebody is working. Let's say they believe they have a calling, but they're not making enough money, so they still have to go to work. Well, if you don't work, you shouldn't eat. They're nowhere close to a community, okay? And I've told people, until the boat comes in, until your provision comes in, solely ministering to the lost or to the saints,
Well, that
you
was
got
wisdom.
you got to work. So, in other words, if you don't work, you shouldn't eat. So, a lot of people with a calling on their life, right? They're in a balance. Right now, they're betwixt. So, what would be, and I speak of two or three people that I know right now. So, what would be your suggestion to somebody who has a calling on their life? It's evident, but they can't leave their priestly responsibility to feed their family, and they're still connected to secular work, or they refuse to get secular work. What do you say about such a situation?
Well, there's a couple of scenarios you just described there. First of all, one of them that I think is very important, and I want to make a little bit of a thought experiment with everybody for a quick second, because a lot of what I've heard over 30 years, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, Sholiak, is, well, if you take away the money, we'll see who's really called. Take away the money, we'll find out who's really ready to preach, that kind of thing. Right?
I've heard that. Yep.
And we've all heard that, and that's a selfish, a miser's way of justifying his knack of giving. So he's justifying it he's couching it under some noble purpose that he thinks is going to really reveal whether or not somebody is sincere or not. No, you're just torturing the sincere is what you're doing.
Right.
So that's the reality. Here's how you find out they're fake. You ready? Give them money.
Explain.
If you give 10 people that say they're called and they are going to preach the gospel, and you just give them automated income, here you go, here's $5,000 a month. Now let's see if you're really called. All of a sudden, you know what? 9 out of 10 of them will not preach the gospel. You want to know why? Because that was the only reason why they were going to do it. And you just solved that. You just solved that. Well, since that's all you wanted, why don't we just go ahead and solve that? And you can leave the preaching to people who actually have a burden to preach the word, not because of mammon. So why don't we just fix it? So that way you don't have a motivation to go out and fleece anybody. How about we just give you, what is it that you need, honey? How much you need per day? Let's just knock that out. That way we can find out if you're really called or not, because now you don't have a mammon motive.
So that's
a flip of a script. Many of you had never thought of that.
No, you're right. You're right on. You're right on. So if you give somebody that is having financial problems, who's a believer, we're talking about believers. Yahweh judges the world. We're talking about believers. And let me see if I got you right, and then I want to say something before you respond. So if you give them $5,000 a month and their calling is to teach Hebrew to the youth, let's say someone's called to teach Hebrew to the youth, so they can read the gospel in Hebrew,
right? And you automate their income,
and you automate their income $5,000, and then you see that they're enjoying life. They're not going to schools. They're not making appointments with the school board to try to get in there. And freely we have received, freely give. It just gives them an excuse to stay home or whatever. And that's what you're talking about, correct?
You want to expose the fakes. You don't do it by keeping people poor. You let them have abundance. You let the sun shine on all of them.
So you're saying when you support people in a situation like that, that claim they have a certain calling and they just can't work, they just can't, give them money, and invariably they're not going to take that to reach people. They're going to take that money and isolate. Yes, more or less.
Yes, it's the cheapest way, actually. If you really, really, really look at it, it's actually the cheapest way, because the other way is much more egregious. It's time consuming. It sucks down a lot of emotion for no reason. Like I said, 9 out of 10, if you gave them the money, they would suddenly not be that interested in preaching. They were only telling you that. They were only using it for financial reasons. So give them the money. I know it's a different thinking. I realize.
No, it's right on. It's a heavenly thinking.
Okay, but if she's like, look, let me just solve your real problem, since I know that's what you're really here for, right? Here, let me just go ahead and give you this automated income over here, right? Watch this. So they go, wow, you just solved my income problem. I don't have an income problem anymore. I mean, it's automated now. I got a machine over here. It's doing it. That's fantastic, right? I'm going to go sit down and go to the beach. Thank you. I got rid of you. Why did I want to do that? Because all you're going to do is clog up the works. All you're going to do is mess things up with your fundraising, which you pretend is ministry. Okay? And so let's get you out of here, over here. And then the only ones that are going to come back, the one that actually turns around and thanks Yahusha, are the ones that are really called. Yeah, the money's great, but listen, I got a burden in my heart. Yeah, I know. Thank you for that. But I got a burden in my, thank you for the super. I got a burden in my heart. I don't care about this.
And so if an opportunity opens where a person or persons can serve Yahuwah and have that and get some compensation, that's a noble calling. That's right. That's a real opportunity.
Sure. But understand this, that the thinking process of, well, let's take it all away and see who's called, right, is torturous to the actually called. You're being torturous. You're being wicked because if you're trying to smoke out the fakes. I get it. The generosity is the answer there, guys. Because if you generously give, you will see who uses it.
People don't know me, and they don't know us, but there's a handful of people that you go back with you far. It's a handful of people. And I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to be, like Paul said, a boasting. But the people that were with me in the beginning, okay, they know I'm called. And matter of fact, when the devil tells me I'm not, it helps me to know that I'm called, right? So I didn't start on a camera. I didn't start with cell groups around the world. I didn't start with everybody going, hallelujah, amen, brother. Keep it brief. No, I started in front of topless joints, in front of cinemas, movie theaters. I started preaching in Regal Park on Queens Boulevard. I started teaching and preaching in Jackson Heights under the train station on Roosevelt Avenue.
You got to be from New York to appreciate what he's saying.
You remember Jackson Heights?
You got to be from New York.
I would stand on the streets with gloves and a hat for 3 hours, holding a Bible in my hand. Nobody paid me a penny. Nobody gave me a salary. Nobody cared if I starved. Okay? And I preached, and I would still be on those streets. If Yahuwah hadn't given me grace and favor to give me a following and to trust his sheep to me, woe unto me, 1 Corinthians 9. Woe unto me if I preach not the Besorah, right? Sholiach Shaul says, woe unto me. I by the constraint, I must preach. That's how you know if you're called. If you started sharing the love of Messiah when no one was around, no one had a wallet, no one had a purse. I did get spitballs. I did get middle fingers. I got plenty of birdies flipped at me.
Yeah.
And you know what? Did I go home and cry? Yeah. But first I kept going for an hour or two more, and then I went home and cried. But guess what? Next week, I was back on the street.
There you go. See, let me tell you something, okay? Sholiak is telling you the truth. And this is how he trains the Sholiak. He trains us different, all right? Let me dovetail on that, like a dove that puts their wings together. Same exact concept. He's exactly correct. And by the way, your news is depending on where you're getting it. So if you get it from the Canaanite News Service, then Joshua's going to get a bad rep. I mean, Joshua sounds like a horrible person. Depends. If you listen to Jericho News, Joshua's terrible. Okay, so you got to realize that sometimes some people listening to the wrong news service, and that depends on your audience, right? But he's exactly correct. I remember one time when I first began in ministry, and Yahuwah said to me to get up and go to a certain place. I went to a hospital. I thought I was going to end up clearing the place out, man. I thought I was there for major revival. I thought, man, this is going to be it, And he made me sit in a certain spot. And then he made me go to another spot in the building. Then he made me go to another spot in the building. And I went to these different spots and I waited and I prayed. And I was looking around for what am I supposed to do? And then he said, okay, now you can go home. And I went, what? And I had all these visions of how things were going to go. And I had this all planned out, and then he sends me home. and I realized as I'm driving home, I'm like, what was that all about? And why, I had a whole different idea how things would go. And what he was teaching me was, will you get up? Will you go? Will you go from here to here when I tell you? He was putting me through operational testing.
Yeah.
So that the next time he sends me, I know, and he knows that I will do exactly as I'm told and go exactly where I'm supposed to go and sit where I'm supposed to sit. You don't get to skip that. You don't get to go around that process. If he tells you got to stand on a street corner and preach for 3 hours with gloves on and a hat and a little beanie and look like somebody wants to throw something at, okay? He wants you to be a spectacle. That's your job for that day.
Very true.
So the
Very
point
true.
that we're making is that when he brings us into assembly, he brings us under the seasoned hands of those who he has battle tested.
True.
He brings us under the seasoning of those he has made warriors who lap the water a certain way.
Man.
And that's what you're going to get the benefit of, is those with the courage to say, if you don't even go with me, I'm still going to go.
Yes.
And I know that there's a lot of people that'll step back and they'll happily let me bring them a solution. Peter, what have you got for a solution?
And the courage to discipline you.
But as far as joining in the actual effort of bringing the solution and being part of the team that brings a solution, that you're going to find very small number of people that are willing to be a part of that. That, my friends, is the remnant. That is New Kingdom. The courageous who gather together, whether at Goshen Beth Safon or here, and say, okay, how are we? I know we're only this many, but how are we going to change what needs to be changed?
Yeah, and I would suggest if you're new to our work here, would contact Apostle Peter regarding the programs that he has. What do they call that? I just skipped my mind. Digital currency.
Well, we got all kinds of things.
Digital currency to invest
under Angels DX for that stuff.
To invest in the kingdom, to have an exchange that is kadosh, that shuts down on Shabbat. It's not about making money. It's about trading and interacting among ourselves to be the body of
ourselves.
Right. So please contact him, and he will be happy to share how you can invest in that and invest in community and in scriptural living. Very important.
That's where we're headed, and we're going to be number one. I mean, I'm sure that you're the number one contributor to whatever it is that Yahuwah has you on a mission for. I promise you. If I were privy to the books, what would I see? Who's number one every year? Who gives the most? Who is the one leading the way? You are. I already know this because I already know what cloth you cut from. So it's the reality, folks. It's only to be a good example and to inspire. Go ahead.
I was very impressed with a young man in my group here. And he said, listen, I don't have any gas. I got to get to work. I had helped him the week before. And he said, I need some X amount of money. I said, okay, this will be, I'll give it to you, but this will be the last time. You can't keep coming back to me every week. Yahuwah loves you. He'll provide for you, just like he provides for me, right? So he comes back about 5 days later, and he says, can I talk to you? I said, yeah. He says, I want to make teshuvah. I'm sorry. I should not have done that. I should rely on Yahuwah and trust him. And I realized what I did was wrong. Please forgive me. Now, it's not about intelligence. It's not about training. It's about a heart. That's a heart. That's sonship. That's a sonship heart.
That's beautiful, man. That's exactly the way we're
meant to. That is a sonship heart. Yes. Father, I know I messed up. I know you'll give me the money if my life depended on it, but I shouldn't take advantage of it. So,
and here's another one that you guys have to be really careful about. And these are little tricks that the devil has done to us. Okay, little tricks. And Sholiak and I are really good at catching these little squirrels. And if you catch a few, share them with us. So when we catch these little games like Too Good to Be True, if Too Good to Be True were real, there'd be no gospel.
Right.
Too Good to Be True is a reality. There's some people that are really just that awesome. They are. And I've met a few. You got to get over that too good to be true thing. It's not real. Okay, that negates a lot of amazing people.
True.
Tiger Woods is too good to be true. Okay, Michael Jordan, too good to be true. You would miss a lot of great because you believe in this nonsense that there's some things that are too good to be true. That's a lie.
You're right.
Okay,
You're right.
So get rid of that. Another one that I think has done a lot of damage is that poverty is acceptable, and poverty is part of the curse. And so we've learned to live with conditions that are not acceptable conditions for the saints. It was supposed to be a hint, a big one, that you were not in a good spot, that things were not okay, and that had to be remedied. And I feel like a lot of people have come to accept a life, if you will, that Yahuwah did not ordain, and because they're comfortable with it, they don't want to move, but you're also locking a previous generation. So our job is not necessarily to solve your problems. Okay, Sholiak's not here to solve your problems. Our job is to be here to inspire you, like he just said, that your problem can be solved if you trust in Yahuwah.
Yeah.
That just as he brings me solutions and directs me and shows me witty inventions and shows me clever ideas, so shall he also show you.
Yeah, and you would agree, right? We need to balance that. The Yahuwah, not everybody is going to be wealthy and rich, but we will have provided for us what we need. In other words,
head not the tail is pretty clear.
Yeah.
I mean, head not the tail is just right in your face. I mean, there's just I can't go around that. Like we give no quarter. When we look at scripture, we give no quarter. None. We are brutal. We are like, nope, it's what it says. That's what it says. That's what it says.
Right.
That's the way we are. So, when it comes to head not the tail, above and not beneath,
right,
lender not borrower, those are very specific things.
But does the head equate to rich? No.
Well, he says lender not borrower.
Right.
That's very specific. And when he says certain things about the Barakah, right, he's being very specific. And so my challenge to everyone out there is to believe him. Listen carefully, not just believe in him. I was in a pastor's meeting, sitting next to a pastor whose shoes were talking. I may know what I'm talking about. Shoes were talking. Okay, he had real beat up shoes. And we ended up taking up an offering to buy him a pair of shoes. I'm not even kidding. And as I drove home, I'm asking Yahuwah, why you Baruch me and this man who's been in ministry longer than me has got shoes that are talking? Why? And he answered me on the way home. And I shared it many times. I share it again. He said, the reason why, Peter, is because you don't just believe in me.
On me.
You believe me. You believe me.
On me. You believe on me.
He just said you believe me. So
he said the same thing in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I speak, you just believe me. They believe in me. But you believe me.
There's a big difference.
There's a big difference. And
big difference.
My experience is different. So I want to pass that to you, my brothers and sisters. I want to pass it to you so that you say, oh, I'm going to do what Peter does. I'm going to just believe him. I'm not going to believe in him or that he could help me or that he could do this. Yes, I know he could, but that he loves you and that he gives wisdom to those who ask for it.
Yes, he upbraideth not and gives to all men liberally. But here's my view on that. What Yahuwah told you is what he told me, with one word difference. On.
Yeah.
He said, don't you believe in me? The devil believes in me. Tartaros believes in me, etc., etc. Believe on me. And that's what I've taught for 40 years. We believe, in other words, my rent, it's on him. I need a spouse. It's on him.
I like that.
My womb is barren. It's on him. In him is not going to help you. In him is this. On him is this.
Yeah, I like that.
That one word, man. I've been teaching that for over 40 years.
I like that. That's good. That's good.
My own personal opinion about the head and not the tail. You could be a lender without being opulently,
sure,
bombastically, grotesquely
we
obese.
Need one. Anybody want to be a lender?
You don't have to do. When Yahuwah says you're the head, it doesn't mean you're going to be financially obese.
Right.
And you're going to be opulent on steroids.
Right.
It just means you're going to have the capability to rescue a brother like Lot when if and when I show you that person needs to be rescued.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's a function. It's a function. You happen to be strong at this moment. You're functioning in this way. Maybe next time it's your car in the ditch and somebody else has to come and jump you or pull you out or whatever. And it's their moment. Doesn't matter. And it doesn't make one better than the other. It's just your moment. Enjoy your moment. It's more blessed to give than receive. But understand that it's just a moment. And another moment you could be on the other side of that.
Right.
So this is why we have to always remember to be humble at all times. Because I have had much and I've had lack. Right. And I have learned in all states to be
content.
Amen.
That is so true. That is so true. And yeah, so we are the head. We're not the tail. And but there's no financial level where you automatically go from tail to head status. In other words, if you're in a position, if you're in a general category to lend, okay, you're the head, right? If you're in a
wow, there for a second.
I'm sorry. If you're fine. If you're in a general category to help or to lend, you have more than you need, then you're the head. It doesn't mean you have to be Vanderbilt. It doesn't mean I'm not talking about motive. I'm not talking about motive. I'm talking about quantitatively. I don't want people to get the impression that there's a level like Amway or a Fuller Brush.
No, it's everybody's different. So if you ask most people, if you went and you said, Susan Armand, any of these financial, they all talk about this. It's common knowledge. This is not a big deal, guys. Don't make a big deal out of it. Here's reality. Most people, 20% more would probably be about the number they would pick. Wherever their income is, you probably would pick 20% more, would probably be about your number. And if you could just get to that, you would be fine, right? What you find when you get to that 20% more is it really was a boundary issue and you and you still have problems, right? So what we have to learn is how to live within our means. That is a separate discussion. That's, I think, what Sholiak is hinting at is that let's not encourage avarice or a lack of moderation. That being said, a family out there should be able to say, "Hey, this is what I need. This is what is going on in my life, and I need this. This is my target. This is what I call your daily target or your weekly target. This is my target." Well, now we know what it is. And if you can do that while redeeming your time, in other words, if you can automate even some of it, doesn't have to be all of it, but even if some of it can be automated in some way where your time is redeemed, which is the scripture tells us to redeem the time. So you have an anointing blessing you to do this because he wants you to redeem your time, right? So he wants your time to be free. So you're like, hey, now I don't need to do as much of this. I have more time now. Hey, let me call the Sholiak, see if he needs me helping with translation. Let me call and see if they need help with this thing over here they're doing. Oh, let's see if somebody needs to be water baptized. I got more time now.
That's what I was talking about. Shaving the time you give to the Olam Hazeh, and gradually shifting it. How can I serve?
We can't fix it all, but what we can do is work together to develop structures that afford us the opportunity to do exactly what you just said.
Right.
Give you the chance to move some of your time into other activity where you then have time for ministry. You have time for your family. You have time for your relatives. You have time to minister to them. They don't even get to see you. They don't even get to see, most of your family and friends, they don't even get to see you. You're so busy. I'm talking to the person that's on this broadcast going, he's right. I don't have any time in my life. I'm constantly moving. I need automation. I need things. Look, the sun comes up and goes down every day without your help. Automation is part of creation. It's part of life. Okay? We need to learn how to get good at this. Go ahead.
Before we take a few questions or comments, I had I want to just shift.
Shalom in Kenya.
I want to just, huh?
There's a brother in Kenya. Shalom in Kenya.
I just want to shift for a topic for a second. We talk about people waking up in the body. Right. I mean, and there's different definitions of waking up. I'm going to give you some thoughts, and then you can follow up.
Yeah.
So we say that people are waking up. What exactly does that mean, and what kind of waking up is of the Father, and what kind of waking up is in the soulish realm? Because there could be a lot of waking up that is in the soulish realm that is not of the Father, and there's other kind of spiritual awakening which is of the Father. Now, let me give you my insight here.
Okay.
So what I saw the other day on TBN, where, forget about right now the topic of the return of Yahushua, I saw a second or third generation monopoly of a Christian network that has stations in almost every country in the world. It's a humongous conglomerate. And he gets on there and he's putting teachers on there like N.T. Wright and others who believe that the Olivet Discourse and the Great Tribulation were all fulfilled in 70 AD, and that they are repenting publicly through action, putting on not dispensationalist teachers, but teachers who realize the rapture was a lie, and that they are to occupy and do the work of the ministry without fear and without trepidation, worrying about the end of the world. And they are literally waking up. To me, that is a true awakening. So, and I hear you talk about all the time, you may have family members that are not awake, or you may have family members that are awake. So what does that mean to us as Torah keepers? Are they waking up to Torah? Are they waking up to the true names? Or is it bigger than that? Is there something else?
Well, I think that's a great question. First of all, that talk about a great lead-in question. Fabulous. I think awakening is multifaceted. And I think when you try and say, when you said that which is of Yahuwah versus not of Yahuwah awakening, I don't see a distinction. Now, I get what you're trying to infer, because I see where you're drawing that line. But to me, it's all him. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because he's all in all, right? So I see this and I go, what are you doing here, Father? Even the just and the unjust, they all awaken, whether they awaken to a good judgment or not. But the scripture tells us that they all awaken, right? Yeah. So that much we can see scripturally, that all 10 virgins, for example, they all awaken. So now the question is, where are they awakening to? Most of them to their own destruction, right? To their own judgment, because that's what it tells us is the case. But also understanding that this awakening happens in various ways. So, for example, we might awaken to contaminants in our water, and that may begin a journey where a person says, wait a minute, what else have you lied to me about? And then they find out about contaminants in the air. And then they're going, well, what else are these? Who are these people? And then they find out they're wicked Satanists and they're wicked this and that. Well, what are they motivated by? This trail that this person's on brings them back to Torah. Whether you like it or not, it brings them back home.
Right. Or who created the water.
They're starting from a long way, but they're starting from way back here.
It starts with dirty water, and then in the end, they're like, well, wait a second. Who created the water? Bingo! Light.
We got all kinds of ways for light to come in, right? So when a person starts pulling at yarn, okay, and the only thing they want to talk about are chemtrails or something, run with it. Run with it, because it's a yarn. It's pulling truth. You're saying, I refuse to be lied to. I won't let anyone lie to me. Let that programming kick in, because wherever it kicks in and starts to spread, from that point, it will go to other things. Nobody
Yes.
got awakened on one item and stayed there. You got awakened in his name. Next thing it was the Shabbat. The next thing it was the feast. The next thing it was 70 AD. What's happening here? Progressive revelation. There are many things I would like to share with you, but you can't bear them.
Very good. Very good. That's true. In other words, once the fire is lit, it's an all-consuming fire. It'll burn away any dross and any lies that have become sedentary.
I used to say it all the time back in the day, back when we were in the streets, man. I was probably down the street from you. And I used to say, listen, once you get him filled with the Ruach and you get him in the water, you don't got to worry about nothing. He's going to take care of everything. Watch.
Right. The process has begun. So in other words, it doesn't matter. The Long Island Railroad is running. It doesn't matter what station you get on. The Long Island.
You may get on a little closer, because you got a little teaching when you were a kid, and you got a little something when you went to Sunday school. So now you got to go rinse all that out.
You may get on in Great Neck. You may get on in Long Island City. You may get on at Montauk Point, but you're on the train.
But you're on the train.
And once the train pulls out of the station, it's kingdom come.
It's kingdom come. And here's the thing, guys. Waiting for a forced. Here's what a lot of people are waiting for: a forced, heavy-handed down, top-down, forced pyramid, Illuminati, judging on and forcing everybody in a certain way. It's not going to happen. You're waiting on something that's never going to happen. The way that we overcome, the way that we walk out the kingdom, you find in the book of Malachi. We tread down the wicked. We are the ones that he's waiting for. You're waiting for him. He's waiting for you. When are you going to start to walk in the thing he called you to? When are you going to ask the hard questions that put your one foot in front of the other and bring you to a new place than you've never been before? You asked him for great and mighty things. Well, are you courageous enough to hear them? And so this is why you're going to hear preachers tell you things you hadn't heard before, because they had the courage to ask questions you didn't ask.
Right. That's very, very true. So woke is you're saying, let me see if I understand you right. It could be an awakening to secular deception.
Yes.
And that causes a discontent in that individual that can lead into spiritual awakening.
Yes, they're going to get gathered. So
but they go together. They go together. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the tear, the awakening stops in the carnal. The awakening stops at a certain point. There are only certain things that will awaken to, and then they will stop. For the true wheat, for his true sons and daughters, they come all the way home. Okay, so some of them wake up in a pig pen and may leave the pig pen, but stay near the pig pen. Others leave the pig pen and walk all the way home. See the difference, wheat and tares? So awakening happens to both, but the awakened sons and the awakened daughters, the way we know them is they're added to the assembly. They come home. Okay, so they don't just wake up and stay near a pig pen.
So in retrospect, did you wake up when you were born again in the church, or did you wake up when you came out of the church and started keeping the chukim and the mishpatim?
I think that that's another thing that when we think about Jacob's ladder, was it a Jacob's escalator? No, wasn't an escalator. Okay, wasn't an elevator. All right, and I say that not to be funny, but to think about
it's true. Yeah,
one step at a time. So your first step might have been 1997 when he introduces you to Goddess of Fertility Sunday, and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Your next step might be 1998, where he says, you're not actually a pastor, you're an apostle. You need to walk in this. And let me bring in a prophetic word down this aisle and a bottle of oil down this aisle. And I didn't tell you about either one. And we're going to have a public ceremony for you, so we can kill this confusion. Maybe the next rung on this ladder might be 1999. That's why we can. Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, when he sends you to 40 cities with a jar of brimstone, right? So did you know about that in 97? No, you were doing 97 stuff, then 98 stuff, then 99 stuff came, then 2000 stuff came. You can't get in front of that.
That's why people that are waking up, I don't condemn people. that still use the J word and that are in the Sunday system. Because number one, Romans 8:1, there's no condemnation to those who are in Messiah Yeshua. Number two, I'd rather go to their mausoleum with a fake altar and a third generational curse than go to a funeral home, which is the rabbinic synagogue where there is no spirit. Those people are my brothers and sisters. No one's going to tell me 40 years ago when I didn't know the name, when I didn't keep Shabbat, but people were getting saved. They're saved to this day. People were repenting of their sins, getting in the water. No one's going to look back and say, Kanichowski, it was all a waste of time. You thought you were saved, but you weren't. You thought the people that were coming to your ministry were saved, but none of them were because you were fake. No, I was on a process. So to this day, I rather go into a church. Don't misunderstand me, Peter. There are different kind of churches. I'm not signing off on their altars, and I'm not acquiescing to their duplicity. But at least, as you said, at least they're on the journey. In other words, they're in the church. They realize that Yahuwah has a Shabbat. They're now considering changing from Sunday to Shabbat. So now the journey has begun. If we just condemn everybody that's still in that boat, you know what we're doing? We're condemning the beginning of our own process. We're condemning ourselves.
And you're not giving yourself enough credit, guys. Here's another thing. Can I just say this? And this is for you. So I'm going to be a good lawyer for you guys out there. You're not giving yourself enough credit for how much you've learned and how far you've come. Take a look back at the ladder rungs you've already climbed and how many steps along the way you had to go through just to even sit through a broadcast like this, and how many things you had to learn just to get here. So give the process more respect, because you look back and go, wow, I started way back here. And look, each step of the way he took me, he showed me things. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So when you see somebody that's still 40 steps back, that way down, you're not supposed to look at them and think, oh, you're an idiot. You know, I mean, I think we do sometimes because we do that, but we shouldn't. What we should say is, I know how that feels. I felt that way. And here's what I found.
But that was us.
That was us.
We loved Yahusha the way we understood him.
That's right.
Those people that are stuck in the church system are the victims. They are my brothers. They are my brothers and sisters. When they die, they're going to be in the same place I'm going to be, because they are being victimized. That is, they're being spiritually abused by people who don't know what they think they know, or they claim they know.
Right.
They are the victim. The system is the rock that Yahusha smashes the feet of the clay and the iron. The rock smashes the system. It doesn't smash the people.
What's coming for churchianity will skip the remnant. It's the way it works. It will skip Goshen and hit Egypt. All right. And Yahuwah brings these cyclically because men keep doing the same stupid. They play the same stupid games. They keep winning the same stupid prizes. Okay. Now everybody on earth goes, oh, I get that. It don't matter which generation. Dumb is dumb. Okay. Dumb is just dumb. How many know what I'm talking about? And some of you older generation going, boy, oy vey, do we got dumb. We got dumb on steroids. And you know, you're like, oh, that's bad. Oh my goodness, that's bad. And you're looking at social situations and you're looking at things that because of what you've been through, decades that you've been through, my brethren, you already know there's certain train wrecks that are on their way. You can see it. You're smart enough. You've been here long enough, right? And so what happens? You start hiding yourself. You're like, no, I'm not going with you guys down that road. I can already tell where that's going to end up. And you start going over this way. What's happening here? Wisdom is setting you apart.
And just one follow up in Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. Now that we understand that the book of Revelation was written in about 66, 65 AD, and we know that Jerusalem is the end time whore that was going to be burned. So what are we supposed to come out of? We're supposed to come out of rabbinical Judaism. People who are born again and they love Yahusha, but they're stuck on the J-hook. They're on a journey. They'll get there. You will seek me when you find me, when you seek and look for me with all your heart.
Right.
I would
There it is.
I would rather worship with my Christian brothers and sisters than go into a Jewish funeral home called a synagogue anytime, any day, any week, any century.
I'm with you 100%.
Because Revelation 18:4 is not talking about the Catholic Church. Because when John wrote Revelation 18:4, there was no Catholic Church.
Now, if you have questions out there, guys, we love to take them, because this is where where the rubber kind of meets the road. Sometimes some of what we talk about might feel like it's going a little over your head, or like, whoa, that's a lot for you to process, and we get that. And so what we like to do at this segment of the broadcast is slow it down a little bit, and that way, if you've got a question, you might have had a question back an hour ago, and you've been waiting for this moment. So feel free to shoot your question out there. Let us know anything you're still not sure about, feeling a little fuzzy about, or maybe an area that we can pray for you and encourage you.
Yes, and Evangelist Noah Kevin from Kenya, I would encourage you to contact us and join the alliance. Let's speak to Apostle Peter and myself, and join up with the alliance and attend our monthly meetings.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. And again, any of you out there that are trying to find a place to connect, this is one of the things that we keep encouraging, is that, ask Yahuwah to place you. He says he sets the members in the body as it pleases him. And so pray and ask him, where do I belong? I know that Yati certainly would love to have any of you that don't have a home, that need a place to call home and a place to call your home fellowship. And of course, there's Remnant House, home of the strong and courageous, that you can join as well. So you've got choices, you've got options, okay? And this is a good thing, so that you don't get to stand in front of the king and say, oh, I didn't have any place to connect. He's going to say, oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
For sure.
Connect in where you can. And even if it's temporary while you're figuring out where you belong, fine. There's no place on earth our anointing will not cover you.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to Mars, you're going to Pluto, call somebody else. But if you're staying on Earth, we're good.
Any questions, comments before we sign off?
No, they're nice and quiet. You know what it is they're full. We got some full, happy people over here.
That's a nice thought. Well, while we're waiting for a question, how about you giving us, because we have a few minutes left, I want to take advantage of every minute while we're waiting for a question or a comment. Give us a little bit of a recap about the ARM meeting yesterday.
The ARM meeting.
Your thoughts?
Gosh, let me see if I have my notes from yesterday. So I can kind of refresh.
Well, while you're looking at your notes, one thing that sticks out is how we were able to bring Patricia and Gloria together. They live in Canada, and they're not far.
You did that.
Praise Yahweh, and they're not far. They're not far from each other, and so we were able to talk about alliances, which is the whole purpose.
Right.
We were able to take two members of the remnant, one from Remnant House and one from Yadi. And they realized they were only 20 minutes from each other. And
isn't that something?
And the sweet fellowship, we were able to connect them. And I believe they're connecting today because we got all the information to them. And if nothing else happened in yesterday's meeting, that alone is worth Yahushua's blood in gold. That alone is worth Yahushua's blood.
Amen. Amen. And we were talking about the healing of the brokenhearted. And so yesterday's meeting, by the way, the Alliance meets monthly, except during feast periods. We may skip just during that, but generally we meet once a month around Chodesh. So sometimes it's not quite on Chodesh, but around that time each month. And we gather to share, to encourage and strengthen one another. So if you're called to the work of the ministry and you need a home fellowship connecting with elders, leaders, that are there to support and encourage ARM, the Alliance of Remnant Ministries, is there for you. Contact us. We'd be happy to help you with that. How should we proceed?
What are your thoughts about because I gave you my thoughts. What are your thoughts about yesterday's meeting?
I thought it was very, very good. I loved that we got updates from some of the ministries that have been birthed in the Alliance. So yesterday, for those of you that didn't catch that meeting, we were able to hear from 2 people that were ordained in the Alliance recently. So this was a wonderful update to hear about their progress in their work and what they're called to do, seeing the joy in their faces. And yes, that connection that you talked about, where we're seeing actual Alliance connections starting to really happen. So this is very encouraging. I went away from that meeting very encouraged.
That's very important, and I did too. And by the way, we had about X amount of screens, but a lot of the screens have 3 or 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a nice attendance, and Yahusha turned the world upside down with 12. And
right.
we've got a lot more than 12, and these are dedicated people. These are people who have been trained in forever. Okay, they don't get offended. They get called to the carpet. Your life is out of order. Your marriage is out of order. Your finances. They get called to and they're right back. They're not going anywhere because they've learned from the apostles that if they want Yahweh's favor, they've got to be in the forever camp, not just any camp, but in the forever camp. And boy, I wish I had learned that earlier, Peter. I wish I had learned that a lot, because I burned a lot of bridges, okay, that I could have saved. A lot of bridges that I could have saved. So thank you for sharing that.
I wanted to answer this question that Brother Don asked, and I think a lot of people have this question. And so I'm going to explain this in a way that you will never forget what I explained to you. I don't care about how anyone else runs their crypto or runs their tokens or whatever. I look out there and I see some of the same things you all see. So I live in the same world. We have the same 24 hours. We get it. For us, NKDM and SKL, these are 2 primary tokens of the New Kingdom ecosystem, are part of our profit sharing and sharing of wealth with our members. SKL is the place, listen carefully because I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but I'm sharing this here. SKL is the only place that we will put the proceeds from Angel DX, from eMarket DX, from Kraken DX, from all of our DX products, any of our DX products, whatever they sell, whatever profits they get, it all goes to one token because it's meant to be a redistribution. Is that clear English? So if you're holding them, they have no place else to go but up because of the value we're going to dump into them. That's as blunt as I can be. So
how does Don contact you? On the bottom, there's an email address.
You can contact us there. You can also that's the best way is right there. Just contact us. We'll be happy to put you in touch with those.
There's Peter's number. I'm sorry. There's right on the screen, 612-564-2720. 2777.
We're not doing speculation. We're not doing investing. We're not doing any of that. What we're doing is we're building, and those people that participate, because of the group effect that occurs, we're able to build bigger things. Those bigger things produce revenue. That revenue comes back to that very same group. So if it's 50 people or 500 people, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, so, Don, you're dealing with honesty and integrity, and if you have something to invest, contact Peter. But the thing is, Peter, I don't know much about this. I don't want to, because that's not my specialty. But I know one thing. You have said many times that whatever you started has gone up. Can you just elaborate on that? Is like it was worth X amount, and today it's worth X amount. Like
right, just trading over 40-something cents, and XLM is really taking a hammering. The underlying currency, and it's still trading. It started out at 37 cents. It's still above that. And Angels DX is live. It's about to get a massive marketing campaign, along with a few of the other products that I listed. Again, I'm just being very matter of fact about this.
But didn't you say the shekel was up to about $1 at one point? Or?
It had risen with the market. It rose all the way up to $1. It traded at $1.06 in the middle of the summer. So it has had its moments, but it's nothing compared to what it's about to experience. So right now, it's actually a good value to jump in. If I were out there, I would be getting as many of them as I could and just stick them in the back of my portfolio and leave them there. That's what I would do.
Don't sweat. Don't sweat it.
I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just telling you what I would do.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, there's a great opportunity there. Let's see. Patricia. She's so sweet.
You're welcome.
They've connected, I think. Thank you for bringing me together with this beautiful lady of Yahuwah. Yeah, Gloria's been with me for like 15 years. She is just like Patricia, faithful,
yes,
covenant,
beautiful,
supportive. They're gonna have a loving contest. You know, they're both loving people, and so Gloria, if Gloria gives you her word, you don't need a bank. Forget about taking it to the bank. You don't need a bank.
Come on.
All right, let's see what else.
Don't you just love people like that, by the way? And don't you get a little intimidated about thinking standing next to them? I do. I think about some of these great saints that I've had the wonderful, wonderful joy of meeting. And I think, boy, standing next to them when the king is reviewing, you better be standing nice and tall. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Those are some great people.
Amen. Andrea wants to prayer for financial breakthrough. So let's write that down and pray for her so she can be in Florida.
All right.
Hopefully. Just write that down.
People are so suffering. They need financial breakthrough so badly. It is
go
really,
back
really
to
bad.
And we're gonna end with Angela's question. So Apostle Peter, if you want to give that a that a go.
I love this question, by the way, because it's asking someone who loves him, truly loves him, okay? Then stay off the name. Leave it alone. Keep talking about that love. Keep talking about that relationship. Keep talking about the intimacy of that relationship. Keep encouraging that, because it's because of that relationship that we ask the new questions. Nobody wants to move religiously, and anyone who loves doesn't want to move religiously. They're resisting because they feel the religious end of this, and they're saying, no, I have a relationship. Good. Encourage that, because Yahuwah will reveal his name himself.
Good point. Good point. And I would only add to that, it depends on the individual. And like every good coach in sports knows, you don't treat 25 players the same way. Some players you have to encourage. Other players you have to scream at. So always know the personality of the person you're dealing with. Okay. If the person doesn't mind being challenged, be a little firm. If the person is very sensitive and they're going to go into a shell, just back off and let the Ruach, pardon me, let the Ruach do his work. So take into account the personality that you're dealing with. That's very, very important.
Yes.
Who am I dealing with? What am I dealing with?
Being patient, knowing that he who began a good work will be faithful to complete it. If this person that you're feeling a burden toward is in fact chosen of Yahuwah, and that is why you have this burden, because Yahuwah is putting a burden, that means he intends to save them. That should be a moment of rejoicing for you. Be like, oh, you gave me a burden for so and so.
And some people want you to be firm with them because they want to know the diagnosis of their spiritual condition. Other people, you have to be very sensitive, because if you give them too much, they may lose your phone number. So in the end, Angela, and you may not want to hear this, but you need the Ruach to discern who you're dealing with. You're going to need the Ruach to discern who you're dealing with.
Well, that's it for today, folks. This has been a great talk.
I think so. Man. Not bad for two guys that didn't have a lot to talk about.
Put a quarter in him, man. You just wind him up.